All right, hello once again, Jeff Scott from Jeff Teaches Programming. In the last several lectures, we've been going over the innards, so to speak, of this person CSDataGridView project that we've been working on. So what I mean is, we've gone over the app.config file, then in our models folder, we went over the person.cs file, we went over in our data, we went over the person repository.cs file and the person dbcontext.cs file. Now what's left is we want to go over our forms, but before we do that, I'm going to come in and I'm going to write a generic validation helper that's going to be able to be used to check everything that we put in here where we added things like key, required, max length, etc. All right, so we want to come in there and we want to be able to do that as well. So to do that, I'm going to come up to my person app and I'm going to go in and try to add a new folder. Now I might get an error on here when I try doing this. We'll see. So far so good. Okay. So in here, I want to go in and I want to add a new item that's going to be a class. And I'm going to call this class ValidationHelper.cs because it is a helper class. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make this public. All right, and the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the using system, but I'm going to get rid of all the rest of these. And I'm going to add a little bit more. So I'm going to put a using system.collections.generic, which probably was in here already, and that's okay. We're just adding it again then. And a using system.componentModel.data annotations. Why those, you're going to see in just a moment. All right, so let's add some comments in here. So this class will be used to help validate the data annotations added to the person.cs file in the models folder of this project. Okay? All right. So we've got our namespace in here, personapp.validation. Okay? So we've got our public class validation helper. Good start. So the first thing I'm going to do in here is I'm going to create something called validate. So I'm going to have a public static list string validate. Now right now I'm getting an error because we're not returning anything yet. All right, we will end up returning. This is going to handle everything in here. So the first thing we want to do is we want to prepare a container to hold validation results. All right, so var results equals new list of validation result. All right. And then if the object is null, meaning empty or unknown, spelled right, return a, let's say, a meaningful error regarding same. So if obj equal null, so if it is null, we'll return a new list of type string. And what that's going to have in it then is basically object to validate cannot be null. So in other words, if we come in here and we attempt to validate something that doesn't make any sense to validate, we're going to get an error message. Okay? All right. So if we get down to here, we had something. So we want to create a validation context for the object. Whoops, yeah, that's okay. Come on, I want to go up here. So that is going to actually do the validation, all right, on what we're working on. Let's move this over. Don't have to, but I'm going to line it up over here. All right, next we want to extract human. Oh, hello. Try that again. Extract human readable error messages. And return errors. Okay, now I'm getting something here. It says validation result is not null here. Possible null reference argument for parameter item. I think it's going to be all right. It's a warning, which of course you don't want, but so what we're going to do is we're going to end up going through this, and for lack of better words, we're going to test everything that we attempt to put into the database to make sure, for example, if it's a first name, that it is a string and it's between 0 and 50 characters. Same with last name. All right, and then all the other ones as well. So let's do a file save all here. So that was the first thing I wanted to do. The next thing I want to do is I want to come into this, what was it, read all persons? Okay, that one's okay. I think it's create. We did it like this. And what I want, if you remember earlier, we came in and we wrote this by hand so that when the program starts, what's going to end up happening is it's going to build everything that we need. And I actually don't like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take what I have in here, which is all of this, and I'm going to comment it out. And then also in this save person, for now at least, I'm going to do the same. Why am I doing this? Because what I want is I want this to be reacting in the same way. So I want the design here to look the same as it does, for example, in the update. Okay? So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to copy this, come back to here, and paste it in. Then I'm going to come back in and I'm going to copy this. And I'm going to paste it in. So what am I doing here? I'm trying to make sure that these are all going to react in the same way. So let's come into here. And I don't want that to be called update. It's DGV create. And I think this was called save already, right? Good. So what I want to show you now is this. So file, save all. So this is the way our create looks. This is the way our update, our select or read looks. This is the way our update looks. And this is the way our delete looks. So they all have the same kind of look and feel to them. All right, so that's all done. So the next thing that I want to do in here is I want to come in and start, for lack of better words, start writing what I want to have happen in here. Where am I for time? Okay, I'm doing okay for time. All right. So we've come in here now and we've written that. So let's go in and let's start with our create person form. You know, we're doing this with CRUD, so let's start with create. There it is. And let's come in and view the code. All right. Again, I want to remove all this stuff that's in here. And when I say remove it, I guess that what I mean is, at least for now, I want to comment it out. All right. And I at least think, I'm not sure about that last stuff, this stuff up here, but I think with all this, I can just remove it. All right. And I'm not sure about this stuff now either, so I'm just going to leave that there. But I want to come in here. So this public create person form, what we want in here is we want each thing that's in here, all right? We want each thing that's in here to correspond to a person property. I'm just curious right now that if I do a file save all, and if I do run this, so let's make that my startup project. Probably is anyway, but I could get errors here. I don't know if I will or not. Of course I do. But button save does not exist in the current context. Oh, okay. That's for the create a person. And I think with all these, all right, that got rid of some of the problems. Now this is return to startup. This is our data grid view. This is our button save. All right, well that got that. All right, it looks like it should hopefully work now. We'll see again. Could still have errors. All right, so there's create. Yeah, it's going to... Well, let's just see if we get one if we run one of the other ones. I know what the problem is. Okay, there's read, there's update, there's delete, and there's exit. Okay, the reason we're getting this error right now is we still have some stuff in here that we don't want. All right, and I believe at least that's why we're getting the problem in here under these initialize component. This is in our designer file. All right, probably right now. And it's in our create. So I'm going to try to do this. This may be a mistake, but we're going to try it anyway. And that is, let's see if I can just rename this. So I'm going to change this to old. And I'm going to have it do everything. Now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to add a new form. I wish I'd have done this way in the beginning, but I didn't. So Windows form, this will be FRM create person. Shouldn't give me an error. Again, I'm going to just make it the right color. Which again was this purplish. Okay, now I'm going to come over and I'm going to grab from here. I'm going to copy and paste. And then I'm going to add the two buttons as well. All right, these probably aren't right now as far as their sizes and where they're located on here, but it is what it is. So I'm going to save this. All right, and let's double check. So this is at, first of all, it's called DGV delete. So this should be called DGV create. Oops, not create, but create. All right, these should be okay the way they are. So this is btn return to startup. This is btn save. Good. All right, so I want this to be located at, and I'm just trying for a common look and feel here, 4018. Okay, and for the buttons, this one should be at 37,355. And the other one should be at 457,355. I'm going to lock these into place. Okay, and finally, for the text that's on here, this was the delete. The text for the form here. So we'll come back to here. We'll go to the text. And this will be not delete an existing record, but this will be create a new record. All right. Now what I want to see, normally I wouldn't have done this the way that I did it, but we're going to see now. Yeah, still giving me errors. And this is all from the old file that was in here. Doggone it, I probably shouldn't have saved that. My goodness. Let's see if I do this. Okay, I don't know if I'm making this better or worse with what I'm doing here. No. Okay, good. So that isn't working yet, and that's okay. All right. So now, hopefully, what I have in here is I've got all of my forms in here. And like I said, if you look, there was CreatePerson. There's DeletePerson. There's really not a whole heck of a lot in here. I can put in this, I guess. I get an error here if I paste that in now, so. Okay. And I do want to make sure that when I start to run this, it is at the center screen. All right, so File, Save All. I should now, I haven't put any code in there for the forms, but I should be able to go back and forth between all forms now. Create, return, read, return, update, return, delete, return, and exit. Okay, that's what I wanted to accomplish right here. So what is left to do here, what is left to do is for me to come in and write the code for every one of these forms, my CRUD forms. All right, so in other words, for the FRM create person, for the FRM read all persons, for the FRM update person, for the FRM delete person. That's what's left to do. And I should be closing in on 20 minutes here. Well, I am. So I'm going to stop here and try to create this, hopefully last one, in the next video. I'll see you then.